Want to see me review this movie real quick? You want to see me do it again? I know I'm not the first one to say this, and I pray that I'm not the last, but this did not deserve an only Disney Plus release. Whoever made this decision to do that, I gotta ask. I mean, you're part of the Disney Corporation. You can sell basically anything. What would make you second guess this film to actually only exist on a streaming service other than a theatrical release? I'm honestly very curious about that. Like, what made you make that decision? I mean, it's Pixar. I mean, come on. And what's shameful is that it's not even the first time they did it. But we'll talk about that later in the video. For now, let's talk about this film. It's actually really good. I mean, like I said, it's Pixar. You can't go wrong. At least not all the time. The story follows May, a 13-year-old girl living her best life with her friends and honoring her family due to her traditions. Especially an overprotective and overbearing mother that pretty much controls her life. But it seems like puberty gets the best of May when she thinks about all the things that a grown woman would think about, which doesn't seem to please the mother in the slightest. Things don't get any better when she finds out the next morning that she turns into a red panda, which happens to be part of her family legacy. In her mind, she thinks that might be the end of her life, knowing that that's the case. Or is it? On the level of Pixar, it's hard to really determine which one's the best one or which one's the worst one. Of course, we're talking about worst ones, it's the one that's obvious, but for the most part, they're all really good, even in their own way, and Turning Red is no exception. The main character, May, is also very interesting too, and easily relatable, in terms of her growing up and going through that pubescent phase and going to own what she calls womanhood. And that just means just hanging out with her friends, being independent, going to concerts. That also kind of creates an issue with her and her mother's relationship with each other. So that becomes sort of an issue throughout the film, but it also becomes a solution to her growth as a person. Of course, the rest of her extended family kind of gets in the way of that and sort of becomes a bit of an issue for her because that takes away her freedom. That's the story at hand. And speaking of the story, also very simple but very well executed. Even has a good little twist at the end, like any other Pixar or Disney film. That has a very touching moment that, again, a lot of Pixar films have, and I don't want to spoil too much because, you know, you can easily watch this for free. God forbid you can watch it in theaters, but we'll get to that later. But anyway, it's still pretty good. In terms of the animation, I mean, it looks beautiful. I mean, how many more times can I say it's Pixar, you can't go wrong. Even at their absolute worst, they've always done a good job with their animation. It just seems as though with this film, that they're still improving. It's only a matter of time before they make something even more beautiful than this film. Like, even with the smallest things, like with the sweat and the expressive look on their faces, like, sweat, again, like, I don't even think they've animated sweat before, but it looks great. Even with the anime-inspired stuff that they put into their animation, still, like, it still looks like its own style, but also, again, anime inspired. It's like it's a slice of life anime by Disney. It's actually really cool to see. I think the most iffy part of this film is, you know, where she mentions the fact that when they say it's time, or it's like it's supposed to be like the time of the month. And they even bring out the maxi pads and everything, and I just felt, I can't imagine how uncomfortable some 13-year-old girls would actually look at this and be like, oh my god, it's happening to her. The same thing that happened to me that one time. Oh no. Not to mention the movie's called Turning Red, so that doesn't really help the case either. Not to make fun of anyone who's ever dealt with it before, I swear to God. I can only imagine how you're feeling in terms of dealing with that. I mean, I'm a guy, so I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know that at 13. I'm 27 right now, and I still don't understand. But the point is, I can't imagine being uncomfortable actually talking about that. So the fact that they actually managed to pull that off in a way that actually is relatable is actually very well respected, in my opinion. So whether you like the joke or not, it's definitely something that you can hold on to and say, huh, bravo for them, for Disney to just, you know, do something like that and not make people feel like utterly disgusted by it. So there's not really much else to say about this film other than I really enjoy it. You should definitely go watch it for yourself if you have a monthly subscription with Disney Plus. I mean, if you have that, then it's free to watch. You don't really have much to sacrifice other than your time, which is definitely worth that sacrifice. Like I said earlier in the video, this movie was completely cheated, and I really feel bad for the people that worked on this film that were cheated by Disney into thinking that was going to be theatrically released, and instead it got a Disney Plus original release. I actually sat down and watched the Embrace the Panda, which is a documentary movie behind the scenes of the filming process. The director of the film, Dami Shi, really shows a lot of passion, as well as the rest of the crew, into making this film, and I feel so bad for these people. I feel so bad that all that passion and effort went into making this film was just another side quest for Disney, and just like it's like them second guessing a business proposition. It's just like the last thing I would think, and I probably said this earlier in the video, but the last thing I would think is that Disney would second guess anything when it comes to their work. It just really pisses me off how they would think that this was an okay thing to do. If there's ever another Pixar film that ever ever deals with this, like if Lightyear goes through the same process, which I doubt it ever will because the character is too freaking popular for them not to put it in theaters, then like I'll probably ditch Disney altogether if this keeps happening. I don't know. I probably won't, but I will still be pissed regardless. But other than that, go watch the film, see if you haven't already.